One. Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to another awesome episode of The Best Version of You. I'm AJ Roberts, and today we've got an outstanding guest all the way from over in El Salvador. He's Australian. He's Mr. Damien Rider. How you doing, Damien?
Good, mate. How you going?
Brilliant, mate. Damien is a multiple world record breaker and holder. He's an adventurer. He's an inspirational speaker, a mental health advocate, and has worked and run multiple charities to do with against child abuse. And he's forever traveling around breaking all these unbelievable records whilst living the dream. Damien, like, it's crazy, mate. Just going through your website and stuff like that, all the events that you've done. We'll talk about those more in a minute, but like,
sure.
where did this all start for you? This kind of like love for doing adventurous things. Have you been like that ever since you were a boy?
Look, looking back, I would say I was always an endurance athlete, just out of survival, really. I lived on the streets at a young age and had to sort of fend for myself. And then I took to skateboarding from, the age of 6 or 7 sort of thing. So that was always my vessel to get out of the house and keep out of the house all day. So I would just sort of skateboard all day, from sun up to sundown and beyond. So I was kind of always like that, and always just use, physical attributes to be able to get through things and to take my mind off everything, Throughout my life, like, I tried a lot of things, I went down the drug and alcohol path, the relationships, the sex addict, whatever it was, trying to just mask everything and trying to find this happiness, really, and just finding ways just to satisfy my needs, I guess, at the time, sort of feeling vulnerable and needy at the same time, but also wanting to be strong. And so, it's a pretty confusing time. And, I had no role models, no father figure or anyone like that in my life as well to be able to turn to go, hey, what the hell's going on here? Why am I thinking these thoughts? How do I get rid of them? Who am I? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? What am I good at? Like, such a confusing time, growing up. And I think it is for a lot of people as well, whether you come from a good life or not, it's, life can sort of get a bit of a hold of you. But yeah, I just had these other things, other little demons that were hanging over my head, and they just sort of control most of my life, really. And just made simple tasks just a bit of a battle to get through, and just made things a little bit more complicated. And of course, with the monkey mind that goes on as well, little self-chatter happening, like self-doubt and everything that, again, a lot of us go through during the day. And, so that was sort of controlling me. And then social media started, and you start looking at what other people are doing, and should I be living my life like that? And, it's, it kind of gets a bit more confusing as time's gone on, I think, and people start losing their self a bit. And I know I definitely did. And I just, it got to a point, I had a few suicide attempts, and just thought, like, I can't keep going on like this and keep harming myself and others around me. I need to find out who I am. And I'd gone through a divorce, and that kind of, I guess, triggered off things a bit. And one thing my ex-wife did say to me, which was harsh at the time, she said, you got to sort your own fucking shit out yourself. And I'm like, whoa, that's harsh. I'm trying to open up to someone I love here. She's like, go and sort it out yourself. I'm like, why be married? Like, I need someone there. So, but it wasn't until about 2 years later, that voice and those words really resonated with me. And I thought, you know what, I've just got to sort this out myself. So I went back to what I knew, and, that I was a natural athlete. I was able to push the limits, and I just wanted to do something that I was really proud of. I'd already left. I was living in Melbourne at the time. I'd gone back up to the Gold Coast. I started back surfing again and started in the ocean. And I could feel, I was feeling more at peace and naturally happy, not putting that fake smile on. And I just wanted to do something to encourage people to get down into the water. to start off with until I, January
Do
3rd.
you think just being in such an outdoors country like Australia was like a big advocate to helping you just overcome that? I'm saying that as someone from UK, we have 4 seasons, you know, and you see people like now and it's winter here and it's just, people are just so dreary sometimes, and you don't really see people getting out and about as much.
Yeah, look, I mean, definitely, like, it's cold in Melbourne as well, you know, so what I just thought about was, you know, where was I the most happiest and felt the most free naturally, you know, and what didn't cost anything, you know, and that was for me just back in the ocean, you know, surfing a wave and paddling around and feeling vulnerable out in the ocean in Mother Nature. You know, it's it's a pretty powerful place, and you know, it's like I give my life to it. You know, I thank the ocean every day, and I thank the paddle that I went on every day. Like, I saved my life and changed my life.
No, mate, that's awesome, and it's a lot of the people I work with, you know, whether it's personal clients or whether it's just people that have just cried out and needed some help and stuff like that. One of the things I always speak to them about is what they're currently doing now, and pretty much all of them don't involve any real form of physical exercise or getting outdoors, you know, getting amongst nature, all that kind of stuff. And you're getting to make those simple changes, and you just see the massive difference it has in their personal, even professional lives all the time, every single time. It's such an important thing that we have on our doorstep to be able to utilize, and, you know, and it's just not enough people are doing it. And I guess it takes you completely away of all the stresses that modern day society puts on us. You know, like everyone wants a piece of you, everyone wants an instant text message back, everyone wants you to answer your phone and stuff like that. But when you're out in the water, for example, that's just like, that's completely gone. It's just you.
Yeah, you just leave it on the shore, you know, you look back and that's it, you know. It's worried about that next wave and that's it. But yeah, like you said, you know, the thing with being physical and training or running or whatever it is, you know, it's measurable. You know, you can see yourself progressing forward, you know, and it just helps in your daily life as well, because, you know, it's subconsciously, you know, you're moving forward. A lot of people get stuck in their life and stuck in a rut and stuck doing the same thing day after day. But if you change that and you're doing something, whether it's you start off by walking around the block, and then you might run around the block, then you might go for a 5K run, and then you might do a half marathon, you know, it's all progressive forward. And even though you're doing one simple thing like putting on some runners and going for a run, which is easy enough and accessible for everyone, you know, you just get those wheels in motion again to keep on going, you know, keep moving forward, and people's minds just start opening up to, what else can I do? What else can I try? You know, let's do this.
And I guess that's where, the adventurer side of life came about for yourself. You got to a point physically, I guess, and then that's when you started sort of seeking challenges and stuff like that. And you know, you only have to look at your website and just see the itinerary of challenges that you've done, many of whom, I never would have imagined anybody doing myself. I mean, you ran a marathon carrying a 36-pound mattress. What was the idea behind that exactly?
You know, with all these challenges, there's not a hell of a lot of thought that goes in. Like, I have a message. I go, how am I going to spread this message out to a wider audience now? And it was basically, you know, it all snowballed, and this is how quick it went. Mate came in. He's like, I'm going to run the Gold Coast Marathon. I'm like, oh, when is it? He's like, it's in 10 days. I'm like, oh. Then instantly my head goes, all right, what's the most awkward thing to carry besides life on your shoulders? And that's a mattress. You know, when you're moving house, the last thing you want to move is that bloody mattress, you know? So I thought, oh, well, I'll just carry a mattress. Yeah, that's what I'll do. My mate's like, I'm going to run the half. You're going to run the half? I said, oh, no, there's a full marathon. I'll just run the full. And I hadn't trained. I'm not a marathon runner at all, right? And he's like, you're going to run the full with a mattress? You ever ran with a mattress? I said, nah, but I'll get a mattress. So, and that's about all it was, you know? And I had put this big sign on it saying, you know, never lay down, never give up. And that was the whole thing about carrying the mattress. And Right, it was one of the toughest things I've ever bloody done. I'll tell you, it was pretty grueling on me, and again, you know, my head just instantly goes to the hardest way to do something naturally without even having conscious decision. And I got about 500 meters into this race and just went, yeah, you know what? I could have probably just grabbed like a normal foam mattress. Same message, you know, a little 5 pound or 3 pound foam, bit of foam mattress would have been perfect. Nah, I've got to go for the full Sealy inner spring mattress and chuck it up on the shoulder. You know?
Oh, mate. Is it like even just looking at the photos and that, you know, just being able to hold that mattress, you're completely leant over to one side. So to be able to do a marathon distance carrying it in, that's like a 26.2 miles stress position.
Yeah. So every 20 seconds, I'd just roll it over my head to the other side and have this system going that I never put it down once in the nearly 7 hours that I ran. And I just rolled it over and I roll over. I started off sort of running, but the hardest part with it was because there was so much weight on my shoulders, my whole running gait had to completely change. So I just had to run flat-footed, like I'm a mid-foot striker usually, and I just bounce along. But I just had to run like just flat-foot along. So there's different muscles that I was using the whole time, and I'd probably got about, I don't know, 10 miles, 8 miles into it. And I was just pulling hammies and calves every single step, just shooting up like lightning bolts. And I'd have to like do this like, little hobble along like I'm just put myself or something until it went away. And then I'd run for a couple of steps and it'd come again. And I'd sort of just waddle along again. And then I'd start running. So I sort of just went along that way, you know. And even though it's, 36-pound mattress, on the last 5 miles, it felt like it was 236 pounds, you know. It was crushing me, just weighing me down, crushing me. And I mean, it was super grueling on me, and it took a lot of recovery from it. But you know, I did the victory run at the end. I was in so much pain. I just like, it was about 400 meters to go, and I could hear someone yell out on the microphone, "And here comes the mattress man." I'm just like, I just start this run, and I was singing, "Don't fall down, just make it to the end at least," you know.
So obviously you're talking about sort of getting messages out there and stuff like that. Like, what was the message you were trying to achieve with the mattress and doing a marathon with it?
Just never lay down, never give up, and anything's possible. You know, I'd never been done before as, you know, another world record. Not that I care about accolades of being a world record or a world first, but I just like to do things that no one's done before, just so I know, just so I don't know it's possible. Because if someone else has done it, then it's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if no one's done it, I can't even ask anyone how to do it. I've just got to work it out myself, which I love, you know. So it's just that problem solving and the new way of training, which opens up more doors to other sorts of learning, you know.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And one of my good friends I've had on the show, he's a British adventurer, and he's off doing stuff all the time that's different. And like, you know, loads of people do marathons or climb mountains and stuff like that for charity, don't they? So like, he's got his own charity for children in war-torn countries, and he's a big believer, if you're going to raise money for charity stuff like that, you need to just make it that extra bit different. So like he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, but he did it barefoot. And
epic. Yeah.
So he said, like, obviously, if it's the big difference between raising £500 for charity or £500,000 for charity, because just things like that. So, you know, I imagine you would have stood out a mile running with a huge mattress on your shoulder. Did you get a lot of people speaking to you after that, like sponsorship? Did you get any mattress companies wanted to sponsor you for your next events?
Nah, not mattress companies, but you know, like I've got Mizuno shoes. They always look after me, and Sunto watches. You know.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah, they've been really good to me, and you know, Smith Sunnies have come on, and Inky Sunnies and stuff like that. So those sort of people help me out. You know, but I kind of don't rely too much on sponsorship or donations or anything. I just, you know, I just do what I do, and I make films out of it, and I write books, and just sort of self-fund my thing, you know. It's always been for me, you know, this is this is my cause, and this is what I believe in. So I shouldn't have to rely on other people to support what I believe in. You know,
Yeah.
people come and go, and you know, they join for a while and they do what they do, and every bit sort of counts along the way. And I'm super grateful for anyone who jumps on. But you know, for me, it's more just about showing people what's possible in life. And yeah, it's not because for me, you know, like, when I was trying to deal with all this stuff, I thought, right, if I had all this money, then, you know, then I'll be happy and rada, you know. And I got to a stage where I had all the money and the cars and the penthouses and this and that. And I was just like, this isn't like, sure, you know, buying a new Audi is like awesome, but it's very short lived, you know, all the trauma and everything doesn't make anything go away, you know, internally. So, and because it was, you know, it didn't, because the, you know, that I didn't get cured by the money side of things, well then, you know, that's why I don't promote money side. You know, it's just, you don't need that to heal. You don't need that to fix yourself, and you don't need it to jump in the ocean as well, you know.
No, exactly. I totally agree, mate. And I did a post about materialistic stuff just before Christmas, actually, just for some of the people to think about. I wasn't like pointing fingers or anything else like that, but you know, like I said, a next wallet holds the same amount of money as an Armani wallet. You know,
Yeah.
a Ford can drive you to the same destination as a Bentley. So it's not always about stuff. And like you were saying there, it's like in the moment, with all the money and the cars and stuff, you could be happy, but you're not fulfilled. And you've obviously then, you know, you've identified that and then done something about it to find that fulfillment, which you're doing now with obviously with all these like awesome challenges and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, so that's why I try and promote to people. You know, like we were saying earlier, you know, every time I do an event, you know, people will come up and say, oh, how much money did you raise? And I'd say, well, you know, shouldn't you be asking how many people did I save? Because that's why I did it.
yeah.
You know, I do the events. That's why I push myself to those extremes. And it's just, you know, it's, but what it seems extreme to other people is my normal now, I guess, you know. It's just, and it's strange what can become your normal. And, you know, even guys who, you know, I've never been in the military, but I know a lot of guys like veterans and that. And, you know, speaking with them, you know, it's what their normal is and what they see as normal would blow people's minds.
Yeah.
You know, like the violence and destruction and death and everything, you know, is just becomes a part of life that is so far away from other people's reality, you know.
No, I totally concur. I used to experience it a lot myself with two of my three brothers who were also military. We used to have like family do's and functions and stuff like that. Like I found our cousins and aunties and uncles and that would say hello to us, but they didn't really know how to talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always ended up sitting on our own little table together. It was because we were out of that little norm, if you know what I mean, out of that bubble. But to us, every day, that kind of stuff is just like part of everyday job, so to speak,
Yeah.
or like for you, like everyday sort of challenges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Speaking like out of the norm, out of the craziness, as what, you know, most normal people would consider. You paddleboarded like completely unsupported for 17 days, like solo. You had multiple shark encounters, starvation, dehydration. You were knocked unconscious numerous times just to accomplish this goal.
Yeah.
Now, this ended up being part of a National Geographic produced film, wasn't it? Heart of the Sea.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, again, what was the thinking behind that? I mean, obviously, being, you know, loving the ocean and understanding it a bit and being good on the board and that stuff would have put you in really good stead. But a 17-day solo and totally unsupported, that's nuts.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it again. I don't need to though as well. But yeah, look, you know, it's same thing. Like I was supposed to just do a 24-hour one, but I had, you know, a boat sponsor pull out 4 days earlier, and I was just like, wow. And I'd just trained up 8 months. Like I'd really just broken myself back down to my raw foundations. You know, I got rid of my car, and if I need to get anywhere, I'd run. I just made it completely my life just to rebuild myself from ground up all over again my way. And, you know, just become the strongest version of myself mentally and physically that I could. And then, the boat sponsor pulled out, and I spoke to a mate, and he's like, well, what are you going to do? Because you're ready, you know? And I was like, mate, I'm just going to paddle to Sydney. So that was 800 kilometers, 500 miles. He goes, how long is it going to take? I said, I don't know, about 20 days. He goes, you can't even get a boat sponsor for 24 hours. How are you going to get one for 20 days? So I said, nah, man, I've got a board. I've got a water pack on there. I'll put some food on, walk down to my local beach. I'm going to start paddling. And the phone went silent for a bit, and he goes, all right, I'll see you when you get here. And I'm like, and that's kind of all it was. And then, but people would say, it's impossible. You can't make it. How can you make it? And my answer was always, well, Nemo made it, and he had one flipper. So I thought, oh, well, I can do it on a paddleboard with 2 arms, you know. So kind of that's how it was, you know. Like I knew I'd trained up and I was physically strong enough, I thought. And my first leg was from Rainbow Bay to Byron Bay, and that was 68 kilometres. And I'd only paddled 40 kilometres consecutively before that during my training. So the first leg of it was 1.5 times what I was kind of used to anyway. So I wasn't even quite sure where I was going to make the first leg, really. Mm-hmm. And paddled out, and you know, I was paddled straight into this huge storm, and then the sun came out, and I got burned, and pretty much faced everything along on that first paddle. And I was so tired. It took me 13 and a half hours that first paddle did. Wow. And got in and slept at the surf club there, just in front of the beach, and then got out in the morning, and then the next sort of 4 days were just super tough on me. You know, I got pitched, I'd lost food and water a few times. I hadn't worked out how to keep it on the board properly, and you know, it's nearly like unconscious underwater, and I had shark attacks, and circled and stalked and knocked off, and drownings. You know, everything was kind of going on, and you know, and I was just thinking, wow, like, and I was, you know, in the water by myself, and there was times, like even on day 2, you know, I was paddling along these beaches that I hadn't seen anyone on the beach for at least 8 hours, you know, no boats around, no nothing around, you know, and you're kind of like looking up to, you know, commercial airlines that are whatever up in 30,000 foot up in the air going, I hope someone's looking out the window, looking at me, you know, knowing where I am, because I had no EPIRB, I had nothing, no communication. I just, you know, text people on Facebook and go, hey, I'm leaving Byron Bay. Hey, I made it here, you know, and that's kind of it, you know. The rest of the time I just sort of have to just get along, and, you know, and like it was tough, you know. There was so many moments there, of course, where I was just like, far out, is this too much for me, you know? But I just kept on going, and I just kept looking at, you know, when things got really tough, I just looked at a tree or a rock that I could see on the beach, and so long as I knew I was moving past it, then I knew I was moving forward, you know, and that was enough for me, and that's what ended up carrying through to my normal life as well, you know. Just sometimes things don't go as fast as we want, but just as long as they're progressing forward, then we know we're all right.
Yeah. Oh no, so it's unreal, man. Absolutely, hats off to you. And that was going to be sort of like one of my next questions. Like during that whole challenge, you know, there must have been a lot of times when you were asking yourself, like, you know, A, why the hell have I done this in the first place? And B, you know, I don't know if I can go on.
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially for the first 5 days, you know, it was on day 4, it was really tough on me, and I was just physically, mentally, emotionally, just absolutely exhausted. And I got stung by this jellyfish, and I was just like, I was in a bit of a bad way when I came in, and I was just thinking, wow, like, it's too much for me, you know. And if I had stopped then, no one would have cared. Everyone would have just said, amazing effort what you did, you know what I mean? It was still like, you know, a great paddle and everything. But something happened, you know, and I woke up that next morning, and you know, it was like I hadn't even paddled anywhere. You know, everything had gone, and the demons that were sitting on my shoulders, and at that time they were sitting right in front of my face, basically, just really drilling at me. They were gone, and I just got in the water, and it was this beautiful overcast day, and the water was just like calm, and I paddled out, and I'd been paddling for about 5 minutes, and a 15-foot white pointer came past me about 10 foot away. Yeah. And I just kept on paddling, and I literally just said to him, "G'day, mate," and just kept on paddling like nothing. Like I just didn't have a care in the world, and I knew I was going to be all right after that. And so, you know, I still had long days and still had tough days, but I don't know. Look, everything just completely changed. And when you see the film Heart of the Sea, you can see that's the first thing that people say. Like, we can see the change, like when it happened in the day on the water. And my face is different. I'm brighter, I'm lighter, and happier. And but yeah, I mean, I just kept continuing on, and I just kept looking headland ahead, and just kept aiming for that. And you know, and again, it's funny what becomes your normal. Like, so I'm looking up ahead, and you know, it'd be like, oh wow, you know, like I could see a headland maybe, you know, 20 miles ahead, and go, oh, it's only 20 miles. Oh, easy, I've got this. And like 20 miles on the paddleboard's a freaking long way, you know. You just say to someone, yeah, get with your hands. I had no paddle, it's just with my hands. So I'm just like digging in the water like this, you know. And then there was times that, you know, there was just rock cliffs that I'd have to paddle past, and, you know, for like 3 or 4 miles, just of sheer, sharp rock cliffs. You know, if anything had happened to me, I couldn't scale up them or anything, you know. And those sort of times when there's that deep green water, you know, and it's looking eerie and everything, and it's just, you're putting your hands in the water, and you're like, shit, just waiting for them to get nibbled on every time you put your hands in the water, you know. But so it's, look, a lot of emotions go through your mind, but, you know, I was also able to start thinking about everything I was proud of that had happened in my life to be able to keep going. Because, of course, I kept asking myself that question of, how am I able to keep going?
Yeah.
You know? Why aren't I stopping? You know, like I've been through so much. No one would blame me to stop now. I wouldn't even blame myself if I stopped now. But how am I able to keep going? You know, and those questions started ringing through my head. And you know, I was thinking about everything that I'd achieved in my life to that date, and everything that I'd overcome to strengthen me to be able to have that resilience to be able to keep going through these things, you know. And you know, and again, you know, that's why I give so much thanks to the ocean and for that paddle, for giving me that awakening and making me appreciate all of my tough times, you know.
Yeah, and it's that kind of thing is so relative to so many people. Is you know, how you deal with tough times, and just generating that, or trying to generate that mental resilience to help you get through all the time. You know, not everybody has to go and do a 17-day paddleboard, you know, in shark-infested waters, but at the same time, sometimes you need to often put yourself in your uncomfortable zone to test yourself, because otherwise you just get far too comfortable, and that's when the slightest little things upset you or occupy your headspace and stuff like that. You know, we all hear about this snowflake generation nowadays, where people get offended by everything and stuff like that. But it's just because the generation we live in now, everybody's got everything on a plate. Everything's so convenient, you know. Kids aren't falling over and hurting themselves. They don't know what pain is. Everything's just gets people's emotions like up and down so quickly, and it's because people never put themselves out of their comfort zone and find out, you know, just how far their body or their mind can actually take them. So, you know, the more people do that, the better. And like, just looking at the stuff that you've done in the past and continue to do so, you know, there's so many lessons for people to take from that. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why I keep doing these events. You know, it's 85% to do with other people and what I can share with other people, and 15% of doing something I think would be cool. You know, but yeah, that's definitely the message always. You know, and I do the extreme. I go to the extremes of pushing my comfort zone, just so people can see what's possible. But I'm not asking anyone to go and do any of that. You know, even if they just want to bake a cake. You know, they've always wanted to learn how to bake a cake. You just go and bake one. You know, just anything at all. You know, I like having chili competitions. People go, "This is the hottest chili in the world. Give it here. I'll have a go." You know, just little silly things like that. You know, it's just, but every bit, you know, adds up, and you keep pushing that comfort zone a little bit wider and a little bit wider instead of regressing down. You know, when we're kids, we explore it all, and we're maniacs. You know, you see them on those little scooters, and they don't care what's in front of them. They're just head down, go as fast as I can until I hit something.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't care. But later on, we go, "Oh shit, you can't do that," you know, or get wrapped up in cotton wool and just like, "Oh, I can't do that. You can't speak that way. You can't say this. You can't do that. That's impossible. It's dangerous. You're going to fail." You just, you know, so much self-doubt gets put into our heads that we just start regressing away, you know, instead of expanding who we are and finding out who we are. And especially like when you've been through trauma, you know, you get stuck in that rut and in that past of what happened. You know, we need to take those baby steps to just get started, you know, and that's what I find, you know, with my challenges, that, you know, it might have taken people, you know, to watch a few of my challenges over a few years to go, right, okay, I'm not giving up on life. I'm going to start walking around the block. I'm going to start doing this, you know. I'm going to take the excuses out of people's lives of, instead of them going, I can't do that, it's too hard. Now they're like, well, if you can run a whole marathon with a mattress, I'm sure I can walk around the block. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, this is why I get people on the show, you know, like yourself and people from all different disciplines, is because the message is generically the same. It's you trying to become the best version of yourself, and you choose to do that via pushing your body and your mind to the extremes, and, you know, doing all the awesome events that you've done. Some people just love to write books, for example, and get their message across that way through literature. Some people would just, you know, go day to day traveling all around doing really amazing talks and that, because they get to speak to loads of people at once. But the whole message is always the same. They're always teaching people, trying to show people like the importance of becoming the best version of yourself. Hence the name, why I call the podcast what I called it, and why I have the guests on that I do. You know, every single listener can relate to everybody in a certain way. Somebody who's sat there stuck within their own little ball and don't know how to get out. Usually some people just need that little push. Most people need to, you know, hang around, get around a bit more positivity, but we've all got that one thing inside us that we want to do, but we procrastinate too much and don't end up doing it. So this is why you know, episodes like this are so important for, you know, all the listeners out there that are just looking for that little bit of inspiration, or something that's just giving them that little push over the edge, you know, to get them going and get them in that uncomfortable zone for a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. You know, just it gives them permission.
Yeah.
Some permission to go and try something themselves, you know. You know, people interpret all sorts of things, like people doing endurance events or whatever it is, you know, in their own way, just like they interpret songs, you know. It might be different to why I did it, but songs are getting something positive out of it themselves, you know. That's it's a bonus, you know?
Yeah. And speaking with in regards to the challenges, ladies and gents, I just want to quickly spiel off a few of the things that Damien's done, as well as obviously running a marathon with a mattress on his back. He's done a 17-day solo paddleboard from the Gold Coast down to Sydney with shark-infested waters. He's also the first, world's first, to skateboard the famous Route 66 in America. Now, if you're not familiar with it, I believe it goes from the northeast down to the southwest. And he did
Chicago to Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Chicago to Santa Monica. Yeah. And he did it in 56 days and covered over 2,500 miles on a skateboard. That was just one of his events. He did a 3-day non-stop event, 3 different disciplines: prone paddleboard 50 miles, did stand-up paddleboard 50 miles, and then ran 80 miles around the island of Phuket in Thailand, the world's first anywhere in the world. And he also done a 4-day solo and unsupported circumnavigation of the island of Phuket in Thailand on a stand-up paddleboard. And again, that had never been attempted before. One of the other really awesome things I really liked that you did was just last year, you spent 50 days riding around on a motorcycle, visiting schools and detention centres and veterans and men's support groups and sport teams to talk about like overcoming challenges, depression, suicide, and just helping people to be able to rise above it and keep moving forward. I think for me, when I read that, I thought that was absolutely amazing thing that you've done there. And it, you know, exchanging notes and tools with countries and all the leading universities and stuff like Stanford, Harvard, all the lecturers. Talk to us a bit about that trip, mate, because that's a pretty amazing thing to do. It's not something that you see people do every day. And as a veteran myself, with lots of friends who have you know, gone through mental health issues and that, you know, people like that will be welcomed all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was time for me to do another event, and every time I do my events, even though they seem pretty random, but they're all strategic, you know, just how am I going to get that message out there to a wider audience. And, you know, I'd never ridden a big Harley before, you know, I've ridden sort of smaller ones, so not like that, and definitely not that far, you know. I was in Thailand ripping around on scooters beforehand and on the wrong side of the road, you know. It's got a bit to get used to at the start, but for me, it was really about not just sharing my message and not just listening to other people, but really getting a feel for how people are able to keep moving forward, and to really start honing down on what was common between what I do, what I teach other people, what I've listened to, and all these other people like homeless people, veterans who you know, get knocked down, keep getting up, get knocked down, keep getting up. Why are they still able to keep getting up where others aren't? So it's really about that. And, you know, I went to some tough places like Baltimore Youth Detention Center, and, you know, they were tough kids in there, and it was a tough crowd to deal with. And, you know, but, you know, what I left them with was enough, you know, I was happy with, just to be able for them to connect with their breath and just disconnect from everything else that's going on, and remind them that where they were isn't the end of the world. It's just the start, and they've just got to make some changes. No matter where they are, they can make changes. And, you know, and then into Philly, which is, again, you know, a tough city. And, you know, I washed the feet and gave shoes to 200 homeless people. And
wow,
pretty humbling to be able to, you know, sit in front of someone and just listen to their story, and while you're washing their feet, you know, and see them with a smile, like by giving them new pair of shoes. And, you know, that was with Samaritan's Feet. And, you know, it's amazing what they do, and I love that cause, because, you know, my motto is about moving forward. And if you've got a good pair of shoes on your feet, well, you know, you're pretty much on the way to start moving forward, you know. And then I traveled along, went up to New York, and I fed homeless people in Harlem, and then I worked with the LGBTQ group out of Brooklyn, and just listen to them, you know. And these some of those people didn't have long to live. They had HIV, and you know, but they were still smiling. They're still community together. And so, you know, to get a feel of that. And then I went up to Sandy Hook Elementary School, which is the school in the US that's had the highest number of massacre for gun shooting in a school. Yeah. And again, you know, I just wanted to get a feel of the town and understand it a little bit more. And I went up and saw the Bikers Against Child Abuse in Buffalo, and the work they're doing is absolutely amazing. You know, it's incredible. Like, the governments all over the world need to take a leaf out of their books of what they're doing and how they're dealing with these kids. And any kid that they take on, like, they sponsor, they have 97% success rate for conviction with the child going to court. against a perpetrator, which is absolutely amazing. You know, they empower them, and as you know from the military, like they do the same thing. They give a challenge coin to the kids, you know, so when they're on the stand, you know, they're hanging on to that coin knowing that they're not alone, you know, they're united with all these people as well, you know, so it's gives them the strength. And they gave me one of those coins, and I was sort of thankful, but they didn't explain it. And it wasn't until I went to Chicago to the Wounded Warrior Project, which are war veterans. So they deal with about 1 million war vets, go through their program every year. And sat there and I talked, and we chewed the fat about their programs and why moving forward so important. And I was so impressed with them. Like they were trying to get everyone off the pills and or off the pharmaceutical medication. And also they had a therapist, but they didn't push anyone onto the therapist. They really just about people moving forward with life. And, you know, and I'd had this conversation with a few vets that I know before, and they're like, you know, our life is about, we're trained to move forward. We have to keep going forward. But the difference is we're getting told to move forward. You know, when you come out and you're in that for like 4 years, 6 years, 20 years, and then you come out and you've got to do it yourself, you know, it's, that's when, you know, the wheels start to fall off a little bit. Or how, you know, as you'd know, like people who are in the military, you know, they're in control of multi-million-dollar aircrafts, helicopters, teams, this and that, you know, like they're so well respected and they run all these things, but yet then they come out and they're a janitor at a school or something, you know, and they're like, fuck, how's it got to this? You know what I mean? So we spoke about things like that, and just how to keep those skills relevant for the veterans when they're coming out, and understand that these are still skills that they've learned, that they just got to adapt into this life now. And the same thing, just moving forward. But they also worked with the partners, you know, they understood that it wasn't just the soldier themselves who went to war, like the partner who was at home and the kids, they also went there as well, or the new partners that come into these people's lives to understand, you know, what they might be going through on a day-to-day basis. So super amazing, like the talk, and I can't wait to get back over there and do more work with them. So I've got all the time in the world for those guys. They're just doing it right. And what was amazing is what you touched on before is, you know, the guy who runs the programs there, I'd never met him in my life, and he didn't know me. We didn't know too much about each other, but just the commonalities of that we're doing intuitively that we knew that worked, you know, and being able to bounce off each other to go, hey, you know, yeah, this is it, you know, keep moving forward, keep this positive, you know, like we were saying there, you know, it's just everyone who's doing these things, it's, you know, people trying to confuse it and make it this massive thing, and it's so impossible to get past and all this. But when you break everything back down, it's to its simple form, well, then life becomes just that little bit more easier, you know. So it's cool. But yeah, they gave me a coin as well, a challenge coin, and they did a proper handshake, and they all stood around and they really explained it to me, you know, like what the coin meant. And it was like, I was like, wow, like I was so grateful for it. And like I carry it with me everywhere. I carry those 2 coins with me everywhere I go, you know. It's yeah, it's, you know, like it's amazing, you know, of what they do, and just that whole coin thing, and, you know, building those people together and knowing that, you know, they're not alone and everything. So that was cool. And then, back on the Route 66. So, you know, what's more blokey than a guy, 6'3" guy with tattoos riding a Harley down Route 66, you know? And what was funny about that is, you know, I'd see people and they'd go, oh, what are you doing? And I'd say, oh, you know, I'm traveling across the country teaching youth and males about meditation. You know, and they're like, you're doing what? You look like a bank robber. Meditation, you know? So it's, but it was good. Like, and that's what I wanted that whole thing for, that whole persona of, you know, the tough bikie, rada sort of look, is one, so I could connect with different bikies and different hardened guys along the way, but also so they could say, right, well, if he's doing it, maybe I should look into it as well. You know, and that was the whole thing. Again, it was just basically given permission for blokey men to explore something else.
Yeah, and that's it's such a common trait, not just in America. It's the same here in UK. It's the same in Australia, New Zealand, everywhere. Like especially in Western society, really, where men just don't like talking about stuff, and they keep a lot of it bottled in. But also, men aren't very open-minded either. So, a prime example, I've been to some really good personal development events here in England, and I've turned up, and I've probably been about one of 15 guys there out of like 200 people. The rest were all women. And the guys have been like, oh, what do you want to go to that for? You know, do you need a cuddle? And it's just that they take the mick first, but they've got their own demons, though. You know what I mean? And it's such a problem of guys not opening up. So doing that kind of stuff is absolutely amazing, and that's all it takes sometimes to create that little domino effect, create that little ripple in the pond. So more guys, especially, take note of it, become more open-minded, and get more involved in stuff like that, and opening up about other issues. Like you said previously, you know, you went through your own suicide attempts and your own mental health problems. I too have, you know, I do what I do, speak about it so often because that's my therapy. So if I'm doing talks or even talking to personal clients about it, or in large groups about everything I've seen and unfortunately been through and stuff like that, like that's my therapy. So but at the same time, I utilize those bad experiences and use them as strengths to help other people, because it helps people open up. But in terms of just getting people involved in doing more stuff, meditation is becoming a lot more popular. But obviously you talk about it and then you get a lot more guys who are like, oh, what do you do that for? You know, and you experience that as well. So I think it's all like yoga-y and Zen and all this kind of stuff. But the one breath tour that you've done to do all the meditation and that, and you use the points of breathe, accept, adapt, and keep moving forward, stuff that you've talked about already. Like, just briefly talk us through like the process of that, and you know, from when someone first starts, like what's the goal here when it comes to like the meditation and then the breathing, accepting, adapting.
So for me, the skate across America, the 56 days was, you know, basically I did the first paddle and then the demons had left my shoulders and I'm like, right, okay, where are they gone? You know, I've had good weeks, bad weeks, good months, bad months. You know, I've been on a roller coaster for the last 34 years of my life. Have they gone? Like, what's happened? I didn't want to come out and say, hey, I've just cured myself of PTSD. You know, it's, I needed to test it. Like I would never say anything. I'd never come out and say anything or advise anyone anything unless I knew 1,000,000%, like without a doubt, full knowledge, and explore it afterwards. So that's what the 3-day test was about in Phuket, was to push myself to absolute breaking point, which I did. You know, my body completely shut down 3 miles before the end, and you know, but I wasn't negative about it. I was positive because nothing negative from my past, no emotional pain from my past came forward. So I knew I had something special happening in the ocean. And then the skate was 56 days. So I knew I had 56 days just doing something simple, from going from point A to point B, and work out what the hell happened to me on the paddle and how did I get through everything else in life. One common thing that people always say to me is, how are you able to keep going? You know, not just in my physical challenges, but in my life challenges also. And I never really had an answer. So I'm like, well, I need to find out what this answer is. How was I able to? How can I dissect this all the way back down? So, you know, I thought about everything and I was doing it. And again, you know, going back into as a kid growing up, you know, endurance, being able to keep skating. Then I fought for 11 years. So, you know, I was just, how was I able to keep going there? And I'd never sit down in between rounds. I'd always make sure I stayed standing up and, you know, always trick myself and trick the other opponent that I wasn't tired and I wasn't worn out. And so again, you know, I started thinking about my breath. It was all about breath work, keeping calm with my breath. And so everything sort of just started coming on that way. And then again, the more I just started dissecting things down and then putting these tools to the test on the skate during different challenges and working out and playing around with it. and really exploring it until I got to a point where I was knowing that, you know, every time a challenge came, I was able just to breathe and just being able to keep on moving forward, you know, and not build things up, you know. There's so many cliche things like you can't change the past, you know, remember to breathe, all those sort of things, so many bumper stickers, but it's about putting all those bumper stickers together, basically, you know, and having a real connection with it, not just having the words and not just saying the words that are connected from someone else's breath or who someone else has come up with. It's really about owning those words yourself and owning your own breath. I mean, when you break things back down, it's, you know, we have 3 simple pillars that continue us forward, and that's, you know, connection with our breath, connection with ourselves, and connection knowing that time keeps moving forward, and so do we, you know. And when we go through trauma, you know, it's about keeping those 3 pillars together and not separating them. So I mean, that's what that whole ride and everything was about, and you know, to be able to share that with other people. And you know, it's funny, like when I come up with one breath meditation, I first did it, I was sitting on the beach in Australia, and I had 12 men sitting in front of me, and these are men that would usually therapy, that was going to the pub having a couple of pints, you know. And here I am sitting on the beach, and I couldn't help but laugh at the start, just thinking, and I said, look at you guys. When did you think you'd be sitting on the beach doing meditation? And I just like looked and went, never, you know, but it got started in the movement from it, you know, and, you know, from being able to instill these things into people. And I've always looked at meditation, traditional meditation, and always saw that it's a good start, but there were some flaws in it. You know, I could see people that they get either too frustrated that they can't meditate because they think they need to sit just quiet and have a quiet mind in a quiet place. And I'm like, well, that doesn't even make sense, you know. If you've got a busy mind and you go to a quiet place, the only thing that's noise and distracting is your busy mind, you know. So I was like, oh, okay, so things got to change here. And then I was out surfing this one day at Nias in Indonesia, and it was decent size, and my mate, he did meditation every morning before we went out, and he got caught on the inside, and I could just see him. I was in the channel paddling back out, I could just see him panicking, and I was just like, come over here. And I said, what's going on? He had to take off, and later we had this chat, and he's like, I just went into anxiety, I couldn't handle it, and what do you do? And I sort of started telling you, you know, some breathing things that I do when I get caught on the inside of big waves. And you know, he was, I could see him the next day, he got caught and he started doing it. So again, I started to think, okay, it's, you know, traditional meditation's got its place, but because it was made, you know, 5000 BC and by some guru sitting out in the jungle that didn't have Instagram or anything on their phone and all this other stuff going on, you know, it's like, I'm sure he had his stuff he had to deal with, but not like now. It wasn't as complex, you know. So because trauma is pretty complex, we need to add different elements in there. You know, there's not just one thing that we do and it's going to cure. Like, you can't just see the one therapist and you're going to be cured of everything. You can't just have the one pill and be cured of everything. You can't just go surfing and be cured of everything. You know, we need a combination of things. You know, we need to suit what's going on with our life now and with the trauma that has happened and the build-up. So it's not just one thing. You know, it's a snowball of things that have happened throughout our life that have piled on in different sorts of ways, you know, different sorts of trauma that we've been through to make us the way we are, and then also what we do to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, you know, as well, with drug and alcohol abuse and all that sort of stuff, you know. So basically what I ended up doing is just combining everything, you know, like thinking of everything that I've learned along the way and what I've done intuitively as well, and just really dissect everything out using EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So it just like works on a rapid eye movement, which is one of the things I was doing in the ocean just naturally when I was paddling. You know, my eyes are looking around for sharks and whitecaps and reefs and jellyfish, and, you know, naturally darting around while all these emotions from my past were coming forward. I didn't know what it was called until I saw a friend of mine who's a therapist, and I was telling him, he's like, oh, it's EMDR therapy. And I'm like, oh, it's got a name. Okay, cool. You know, and then, you know, just working on the breath and then the mantra ohms and, you know, working back into your intuition and just watching babies, how they breathe and how they are and how they play and everything as well, you know, and really just getting back down to that raw foundation of what we do naturally before we're influenced by everyone else around us.
Yeah.
And just how we breathe and how we breathe into our belly, and, you know, and not chest breathe, and just, you know, and what's our life source, you know, is oxygen, you know, and keeping ourselves calm. So, you know, the more oxygen we can get in a calm way, but also release all that carbon dioxide as well. So it's a complex form, but it's not complicated as well. You know, I've done the hard work so other people don't have to, is the way I see it. And, you know, and that's what I, you know, share with other people now is that. And so, yeah, so it's called One Breath Meditation. So I ended up writing a book on it, and it's getting published at the moment.
Oh, wow.
By a publishing company out of New York. And so, yeah, so that should be out soon. And so, yeah, so I mean, it's cool. And that's what the One Breath Tour is all about, you know. It's just about teaching people that, and just, you know, being able to break it down. I mean, everything starts with one breath, no matter what we're doing, you know. And like I said, it's our life source. It's how we started. You have that breath of life, and then, you know, you're away, you know. So to be able to have that connection with your breath and take that moment out of any anxiety or argument or stress or depression that you're in at that moment, get out of that headspace, out of that monkey mind, to be able to breathe into your belly, hold it for 2, and release slowly through your mouth. The 3 conscious decisions that you have to make, that's gonna take you away from whatever's happening in front of you.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like, I think it's an awesome thing you've done, and that you're projecting it and cascading it to so many people out there, because well, we all know there's so many people out there that need that help, need that bit of inspiration. And like, one thing I found as well, especially being ex-military and going down the coaching role as well, is that a lot of guys who I've spoken to, especially in the last couple of months, there's been a hell of a lot who've been struggling, who I've reached out to because I've seen cries for help and stuff like that. Is the fact that everything they're saying to me is totally relative. I know exactly what they're going from. And, you know, although there's some amazing therapists out there, you know, the guys and girls tend to not let their barriers down to someone they feel doesn't know really what they're talking about, because they haven't been in a trauma situation, or they haven't been in the middle of a firefight, or you know, their best mate next to them was, you know, shot, killed instantly, or blown up, whatever. Yeah. So I think straight away I always have, like, let's call it the upper hand, and I can get down to that level straight away and know exactly where they're coming from, and tell them what I've done and what I continue to do. You know, when I have thoughts about certain incidents or things that me and my family have had to unfortunately go through. Like, you know, I said to you before, me and my family lost everything taken away from us. I had to leave Australia and come back to UK. And when you're physically standing there in your own garage selling all your kids' toys and that, just so you can, like, leave the country that you love, is hard to swallow, for example, on top of, like, Afghan and Iraq tours and all the rest of it. So when I chat to guys and girls that are really struggling, straight away I've got that connection with them, and it works really well. So I'm definitely going to study a lot more into your one breath meditation. I think it's a really amazing thing. And what I'll do is I'll definitely put some links to some of the info and that on your show notes for sure. So moving forward then, Damien, what's next for you in the land of challenges and craziness and travel? Because, I mean, you're living in El Salvador at the minute.
Yeah, I'm in El Salvador. You know, it's I love it here. It's amazing. You know, I'm at a place called Mazada Point Hotel, and I'm about to build like their retreat programs and have people come out here. And it's, you know, we've got beautiful waves and everything here at the moment. It's beautiful volcanic black beaches and stuff. So the minerals coming out, like when you're walking along, you look back and it's like just jungle around. And, you know, it's pretty amazing, a pretty special place. So I'm grateful to be able to be here and start running some programs out of here and do some privates as well. And but yeah, I mean, I'll just keep on doing some talks around the US as well, and keep sort of shedding the message. And then this year coming up, I'm creating a TV series of 11 different challenges that I'm going to do. Again, it's just they're not endurance ones, but they're all extreme. most of these challenges, well, at least maybe one person's done it, but no one's done all 11. They might have done one, maybe two of them, but not all 11 of them. So they're all very different disciplines. It's a lot of training, a lot of mental side that I have to go into, and like surfing an 80-foot wave or free climbing El Capitan with no ropes, and different things like that. And again, they're high risk, but because I don't live with doubt, I've got no doubt that I'll end up doing them, and I'll succeed in them, and I'll get through them all. So yeah, there's that. I've got to finish off my book, so I'm writing my memoirs at the moment. So that'll be cool when that comes out, and so I'm just kind of working on those things at the moment, and just do what I can. It's Child Abuse Awareness Week at the moment, so there's like 9 events that are going on all around the world, especially in Australia, sort of this week. And we just did a paddle out here for January 3rd for like an annual Packer Day, Paddle Against Child Abuse Day, because January 3rd was the day I first set off on my paddle to Bondi. So we did a paddle out here. It was about 12 people that paddled out, and we sat out in the water and splashed some water around, and just gave some love and freedom to those who have lost their lives through child abuse, and those who are still struggling at the moment. So it's super important for me, and so I'm super happy to be able to have this podcast with you today, because it's a really special day for me as well. It gets a bit emotional for me today as well when I stop and think about it. Not just because it's a day that set off on my journey of saving my life, but just the millions of people's lives that I've been able to have an impact on over the last 5 years because of it, and for people to be able to do events and hit me up and want to support and organise different events all over the world, knowing that it's not about raising money, it's just about getting people moving forward, and it's super exciting for me, just to know that there's other people out there like really giving a shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You do these things and you think, yeah, am I the only one thinking this way? Come on, I need more people, but yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, I know, and it all comes down to just making people so much more open-minded and not so self-absorbed with the 100-mile-an-hour life that so many of us live, especially here in England. It's just everything's just all about the rat race here, and the country's obsessed with mortgages, for example. That's another conversation, but
yeah,
the more people open their mind, the more people will engage in, like, there's so much more out there, there's so much more opportunity, there's so much like room to live, but I mean, have you got plans to come to the UK at all?
Look, I keep getting asked to go over there, so I'll definitely get over there at some stage. How long I'm here for, I'm not sure. This is a pretty good place to base myself and to run these retreats out of, for sure. But I want to get over to the UK and do some talks over there, and get around. I've been to the UK before a long time ago. I was in Brighton and Newquay, Cornwall for a bit, and that's
chasing the waves.
I was working at the Walkabout there as a chef, actually. But yeah, so I definitely want to go over there and just help it a little bit more, and just sort of spread the word a little bit more, and just do what I can. Like everywhere I go, it's kind of like this is, I wouldn't say it's a job, but it's kind of like a full-time job for me as well. Like everywhere I go, is my mind's always focused on this. 80%, as I said, 85% of my life is this is what it is. How can I get a message out to other people? And I said I've gone through the struggles, so other people don't have to. And I'll just keep doing that, keep pushing. It's just what's embedded into me now of who I am. And there's I've had times where I'm like, whoa, do I need to go back to a normal life and just get a normal job? But I can't. This is just who I am, and I still have my tough times. Like, it's got nothing to do with my past at all. But it's I still have tough moments, as everyone does in life. Like traveling the world. There's still money issues, loss of bags, and this and that. All sorts of stuff goes on in life. You know, I get by, and you know, I do all right. And as I said, you know, I'm in El Salvador, living right on the sand. You know, it's just beautiful waves. I've already been out surfing this morning, and it's just amazing food and beautiful people, and you know, life's not too bad, eh?
No, that's good. It's what you make it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'll be sure to put all your contact details and all your tags for your social media platforms in the show notes, along with your website. I thoroughly recommend people checking your website out. It's really good. You see all the amazing challenges that Damien's done, and all the amazing work he's doing around the world, helping people, especially with mental health, and all the amazing awareness that he's creating, you know, for against child abuse. Which is such a huge thing, pretty much all around the world. So, Damien, thanks so much, mate, for breaking up your surf and paddle time to come and join us on the show, and spread so much amazing wisdom and inspiration for like everything you're doing and you've done. And I really hope that everybody listening can take away so much powerful messages that you shared with us, especially about, you know, keep moving forward, and taking yourself out of your comfort zone and putting yourself in situations where you really need to test yourself, and you'll find out who you are. More and more, the more people can do that, you know, the better everyone's general mental health is going to be, and the more that we can spread that message and help more people. So yeah, thank you. Honestly, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. It's been fantastic. It's been quite nice looking at the scenery behind you, seeing how nice the weather is. It gives me a great lift. But yeah, and I'll be in contact though later on about an event we're running here in UK, which is a big mindset and mental health event that we're going to host soon, sort of like later on in the year. So I'll definitely hit you up about that.
Yeah, awesome.
But from me and all the listeners, like, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I wish you all the best in all your challenges for later on in the year.
Thanks, mate, and congratulations on your podcast as well. Again, you know, that's stepping out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there just a little bit more. And you know, you got the right intentions, and so long as your right intentions are there and your morals are there, you know, things work out. You know, and you got your breath. As long as you got your breath, you're all right.
That's it. Awesome. Well, guys and girls, you've heard an amazing amount of value and awesome content today from Mr. Damien Rider. Make sure you check out all this stuff, guys, especially if you're looking to get into meditation and stuff like that. But if you're in a bit of a dark place, if things aren't going too well for you, if you're surrounded by negativity, take on as much as you can of what Damien has shared today with everybody, because just from some of the challenges that he's gone out there and done, he's pushed himself to the extremes just to find out who he is and what he's about. You don't have to do the same things, but just get out there and try something that's going to test yourself. And you'll find day after day that you really can become the best version of you. Goodbye.